Don't we deserve that happiness?" He sighed. "We have talked about this. I told you, I'm not going to divorce my wife until I can afford it. If you leave that dolt you're married to, he will give you nothing. What do you think we will live on then, eh?" She glared back. "We will have each other. Isn't that enough for you?" "No, it isn't, and it certainly isn't enough for you. Not with your tastes. So why not let things stay as they are, and we can enjoy what we do have?" "But I want more than the occasional evening and afternoon with you. I want you. All I am to you is a good fuck. Isn't that the truth?" He froze, and then smiled coldly. "Maybe you're not even that. But at least you are an easy fuck." "Bastard." She pulled away from him. "You think you're the only man who wants me? You'll see." She strode towards a group of guests from the film industry, and her face lit up in a brilliant smile as she called out a greeting. "Lenny!" A woman dressed in a trouser suit with shoulder-length dark hair and manly features smiled back and opened her arms to welcome the new arrival. They exchanged kisses before Gerda greeted others she knew and was introduced to the few she did not. Dorner watched her for a moment from the edge of the hall, before he made for two officers standing by the bottom of the wide staircase that climbed up to a gallery overlooking the hall. He nodded to them as he approached. One was the aide he worked alongside at his office in the Abwehr, Germany's military intelligence. The other man, General von Treschow, wore the red collar tabs of a general staff officer. Even though he was not yet 40, his hair had receded, marring his otherwise handsome features. "Good evening, sir." Dorner bowed his head slightly. "Dorner, good to see you again," von Treschow replied. "Tell me, I recognize that woman's face, the one you arrived with." "I imagine you did, sir. She's an actress. Or at least she was. Gerda retired from the film industry some years ago." "Ah, that Gerda. But I thought she was a blonde." "She was back then, but brown is her natural colour." The general stared towards the group, which had now arranged itself around Gerda as she began to exert her magnetic charm over her audience. "Blonde or brunette, she is a fine-looking woman. Lucky you." "Yes, lucky me." Dorner raised his glass, took a sip, and stepped in between his superior and Gerda before he continued. "So, General, after Poland, what has the General Staff got planned for the Western Front?" Von Treschow laughed and wagged his finger. "I am not at liberty to give any details, my friend. But let's just say our French and British friends are in for a shock when the time comes." The general began to extol the superiority of German arms and tactics over those of the enemy, but Dorner's attention wavered as his thoughts returned to Gerda. It was not enough that she was there to warm a bed for him when his lust demanded satisfaction. He was a jealous man, and could not tolerate the idea of sharing her with anyone else. It was true that they were both married, but she had assured him that she no longer slept with her husband, a Nazi lawyer. For his part, Dorner had married young to a pleasant girl from a family who owned a large estate below the Harz Mountains. But she had proved to be dull, certainly compared to a former film star like Gerda. And there was the problem. He could choose the comforts of his wife's wealth or the sophistication of Gerda. But he wanted both. As more guests arrived, the hall became crowded, and it was difficult to hold a conversation over the swelling din. Music started playing from a gramophone in the gallery, an upbeat number by a former cabaret singer still tolerated by the party. At length, the general exhausted his shop talk and his voice, and moved off to get another drink. Dorner's aide rolled his eyes. "I thought he'd never finish. The man has no idea what social gatherings are for. Who invited him?" "I have no idea, Schumacher, but I do not intend to let him bore me any further. If he comes back, keep him occupied. There's someone I need to speak to." "Your friend Gerda? If I were you, I'd not leave it too late." Schumacher nodded behind his superior. Dorner turned, and his eyes quickly fixed on the far side of the hall, where several couples were dancing to the music. Gerda was amongst them, her arms around a slender young man in a velvet jacket, their bodies pressed close together. She looked over the man's shoulder at Dorner and kissed her dancing partner on the neck. He held her closer still, and his right hand slipped from her shoulder to her waist. "Damn her," Dorner growled. He thrust his empty glass at his aide and strode through the crowd towards her. Pulling her away from the man, he grabbed her by the arms and leaned to speak into her ear.